Well, heaven forbid you are in a car crash caused by someone else's carelessness. Can you bring a claim against them? Well, it really comes down to answering the question of serious impairment of body function. And if you don't know what that means, we're about to take a deeper dive into it. Tom from Sinus Dramus Law Firm joins us. Hi, Tom.
Hi, Ted. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. The car crashes happen all the time, and people may think if they were injured, they've automatically got a claim. But can you remind us again about the basic concept of what a threshold injury is?
Sure. It's a unique concept, and it's a unique concept to Michigan automobile law. Why? Well, as we've talked about before, in our system of auto law in Michigan, on the one hand, the victim can receive certain benefits, medical expenses, wage replacement, that we call no-fault benefits, and they typically receive those from their own insurance company. On the other hand, if the victim is injured by someone else's carelessness, as you mentioned, then the victim may be able to pursue a claim against the person who caused the crash or who owned the vehicle and those type of things. But that leads to a concept of a threshold injury. And this really is this kind of inherent trade-off between no-fault benefits and then what we call liability claims. And it's the idea that the victim has to show that they sustained a particular type of injury called a threshold injury. That's the shorthand phrase for it, a threshold injury. Now, we don't have a list of threshold injuries by body part, for example. We have phrases. We have three general phrases that are our three categories of threshold injuries. One is death. The other is permanent serious disfigurement, applying mostly to serious scars and burns. And the third is the one you mentioned at the beginning, and that is serious impairment of body function. So serious impairment of body function is a type of threshold injury, and it's the most common form of a threshold injury that the victim has to show if they want to pursue a claim against the person who caused the crash.
Okay, so we know that there's no list of body parts and what gets hurt for what. So how do you define a serious impairment of body function?
Well, we have a definition in state law. It originally was from a Michigan Supreme Court case. It's now been made of part of state law. And what it says is that serious impairment of body function has three components. The first component is that it must be objectively manifested. What does that mean? It means that it is something that is perceivable or observable by someone other than the injured person. So perceivable or observable from actual symptoms or conditions by someone other than the injured person. That just means, Todd, that if you had an injury, your impairment is something that someone other than you can see, not just something limited to what you see or what you experience. Of course, most injuries, serious injuries, are the kind of injuries that many people can perceive the impairment of. So that's the first prong, objectively manifested. The second is that it has to be an impairment of an important body function, meaning a body function that, as the law says, has great value, significance, or consequence. This is kind of these three, no pun intended, the least important, because I think most people consider all parts of their body to be important. And if they're considering pursuing a claim, that's obviously even more true. So the third component of this serious impairment of body function is that the impairment has to affect the injured person's general ability to lead his or her normal life. What does that mean? Well, the law goes on to say that it has to influence some of the person's capacity to live in his or her normal manner of living. So what we're getting at here is this idea that there has to be a change between the way that the person lived before the crash and the way that the person lives their life after the crash. And here the law says that how long these impairments last, well, it might be important, but it's not the only thing. But then it says very specifically that this is always done on a case-by-case basis, and you have to compare this before and after, comparing the before and after to show that the impairment has affected the person's general ability to lead their normal life. So those are the three parts that make up serious impairment of body function. All three have to be demonstrated to get over that threshold concept.
And of course, if anyone's going through this right now, or God forbid it happens in the future, where can they get a hold of you?
They can find us online at www.sinusdramus.com. They can shoot us an email at info@sinusdramus.com or give us a call in West Michigan at 616-301-3333.